Hey there guys, this is your host Richard with another marvelous video. This time, Toonami was a cleverly put together name combining the words cartoon and tsunami. Indeed, it was a tsunami in the animation world, a late-night television programming block that familiarized the American audience with Japanese anime along with a generous helping of American action animation. And later, in 2012, Toonami was relaunched as a late-night block on Adult Swim. In this video, we'll focus on all the American cartoons and Japanese anime that aired during the original run of Toonami till 2008. We've moved chronologically, and do remember that many of these shows aired much before than when they were telecast on Toonami. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Thundercats 1985 series, 1997. The original show was telecast back in 1985, and it was brought back on Toonami as one of their earliest programs. It's the case with many of their other cartoons and anime, and the reruns of such popular shows established a solid popularity for the network. Thundercats tells the story of a group of humanoid cats from the planet Thundera. Their home planet was destroyed by a band of marauding mutants, and while the inhabitants attempted to escape in their escape ships, most of them were destroyed. A small group of 7 Thundercats made it to the Third Earth, and this became the new home for them. Led by their spirited leader Lion-O, the humanoid cats made new friends here, but they also faced a constant threat from the evil Mum-Ra and other mutants who challenged their existence. The show was a joy to watch during the 80s, and the late 90s telecast didn't make it seem outdated at all. The premise was interesting enough to get you hooked, and the detailed animation made the visuals quite promising. The show was backed up by some very intelligent writing, and some of the plot lines are a lot deeper than you'd expect. Thundercats also shined in the voice acting department, and Earl Hammond as Mum-Ra was simply unforgettable. In short, this brilliant show deserves to be rewatched even today, and you must check it out if you haven't already. The Real Adventures of Jonny Quest, 1997. Jonny Quest is a spirited teenager and a computer expert who has access to a computer-generated virtual reality domain named Quest World. The series explores his many adventures alongside his friends and extended family members. The Quest World offers them various missions where they need to solve puzzles or find out hidden objects while fighting evil forces, and they encounter some dangerous situations in the process. Many of their enemies have their eyes on the Quest World, and Jonny Quest and his team must find a way to prevent them from taking possession of this unique creation. This happens to be a superior show equipped with some terrific writing, and it's a pity that the series got cancelled prematurely. The animation is wonderful, and the storyline never disappoints, which makes it a versatile combination. The original series featuring Quest was undoubtedly fun, but this one wouldn't be too far behind. It takes a special effort to remake a 60s classic, and the makers seem to have aced that. You'll not find too many better protagonists than Jonny for a 90s teen adventure series, and it's a must-watch for every animation fan out there.
The Legend of Voltron, Defender of the Universe.
Voltron, Defender of the Universe, 1997. This evergreen 80s classic enjoyed a successful rerun in the Toonami network, and it told the story of 5 lion robots and their brave pilots. These 5 robots were split up from a powerful robot named Voltron, who used to be the previous defender of the galaxy. The team had a challenging task in hand, where they had to protect the galaxy and the planet Arus against the evil forces led by King Zarkon and Prince Lotor from the planet Doom. Their adventures made up the exciting episodes. The series proved to be a promising addition to the Toonami network because people never grew tired of the several storylines that made the narrative so interesting. The transformation of the robots looked really cool, and the wonderful graphics and pictures used in the series made it stand out among the 80s anime. There were some engaging characters in the narrative, and the voices have been managed by a team of really talented artists. You'll enjoy some phenomenal action in the episodes, and the show was designed in such a way that everyone from the kids to the adults could enjoy it. It has to be one of the most underrated shows from the 80s, and it's a true classic that'll go down as one of the finest specimens of 80s animation.
Your Highness, the Galaxy Trio.
At your service.
Cartoon Roulette. Cartoon Roulette was a buffet of American animation, where a number of popular Hanna-Barbera cartoons and the 1940s Fleischer Superman cartoon titles were randomly played for the viewers. The prominent titles included in Cartoon Roulette include Birdman, Galaxy Trio, Space Ghost, the Herculoids, and the Fleischer and famous Superman cartoons. Birdman was about a man named Ray Randall who had superpowers given to him by the Egyptian sun god Ra. Galaxy Trio involved the adventures of a group of interplanetary law enforcers, while Herculoids were a species who protected their planet against evil forces. Space Ghost was presented as the action adventures of the titular superhero and his sidekicks Jan and Jace, who fought villains in outer space. The Fleischer and famous Superman cartoons, of course, need no introduction, as it was the first animated adaptation of Superman. Toonami used random segments of these shows in cartoon Roulette, and it's been aired for over 700 times between 1997 and 2000. It was a fun way to introduce these cartoon classics to the kids, and the inclusion of the early Superman cartoon was a masterstroke. The stories triggered a lot of interest around these shows, and many of them became popular yet again after many years since they were first aired.
Hope you're ready, because Robotech is back.
Robotech, 1998. This 1985 series was telecast on Toonami in 1998, and the story is premised in a futuristic world where an alien spaceship used for battles crash lands on an island in the South Pacific. After it's discovered by humans, they repair the spaceship and use the advanced technology in there to create fighter jets that can transform into giant robots. However, when the aliens finally locate their fallen spaceship, a series of wars break out, and the defenders of the Earth must find a way to deal with this extraterrestrial threat. This animated series was created from 3 Japanese shows, but the story came together quite nicely. The fantasy world came alive through the narrative, and even the anime purists fell in love with the show. The story spans across 3 generations of people who try to save the Earth, and the drama dove deep to bring out the true faces of humanity. Many would say that this animated series acted as a catalyst for the popularity of anime in the US, and we can't disagree completely. The brilliant combination of a gripping storyline, mecha elements, and loads of action made this a solid entertainer. And if you're a fan of mecha anime shows, then Robotech definitely needs to be on your watch list. Sailor Moon, 1998. Originally created in 1992, this remarkable anime tells the story of Usagi and her friends Makoto, Minako, Rei, and Amy, all of whom have superpowers of some form. They use these powers to fight the forces of the Dark Kingdom that threaten to annihilate everything that they stand for. Can the spirited group of young schoolgirls do justice to the fact that they're incarnations of an alien prince with special powers? Sailor Moon has been so popular over the years that almost every anime fan is familiar with the narrative. One of the first things that'll draw you to this series are the characters, who are so simple and adorable. Each one of the girls has a unique personality, and there are some comedic elements throughout the narrative to lighten the mood. There's an underlying romantic story as well, and the diversity in the episodes will never let you get tired of Sailor Moon. It also comes with some soulful music. And as is the case with many other anime shows, the original voiceover is much better than the dubbed versions. Sailor Moon is one of the most perfect anime shows that can be enjoyed with the whole family, and if you're someone who reads between the lines, then the narrative will prove to be a lot deeper than it shows. Dragon Ball Z, 1998. Dragon Ball Z is perhaps one of the most popular anime shows of all time, and the massive fan following is evident from the fact that the show ran from 1989 to 1996 for 9 long seasons. The narrative takes you alongside the world's most powerful fighter, Son Goku, who has the responsibility of protecting the Earth from dreaded Saiyan warriors sent out by the tyrannical space warlord Frieza. As humanity faces certain unexpected threats, Goku must forge unlikely alliances and do everything in his capacity to protect those he loves. This is certainly one of the best anime shows of all time, and the craze is justified when you look at the magnitude of the story. There are some charismatic characters, a detailed plot, and some great fighting sequences that can take your breath away. Even the animation work is quite impressive, and the backgrounds have an ethereal quality that stands out even today. It came as a blessing for the Western audiences, even though some of the content was censored and created a lack of flow. If you've grown up watching this timeless classic, well, your childhood has been special. Beast Wars, Transformers, 1998. The Cybertronian Wars have been raging for centuries, and this time the war between the Transformers continues in a different setting. It all starts after the evil Predacons and the heroic Maximal Warriors crash land on a primitive world. The planet has an overabundance of natural energy, and in order to protect themselves, both the Predacons and the Maximals assume animal forms. They transform into robots during battles, and the efforts of the Maximals to stop the Predacons from taking over the galaxy continue, even in this new world. The comparison between Beast Wars and the original Transformers is quite obvious, but it's also slightly unfair, because the two were made in different eras. Beast Wars uses the best of the classic 80s cartoon and makes it more advanced with CGI. The characters in Beast Wars, however, can be considered cool even today, and the character development in the show is phenomenal. You'll often have some of the bad guys switching alliances and turning over a new leaf, and the narrative never lacks in delivering some light-hearted humor. You'll also appreciate the quality of the voice actors, and there isn't much wrong with this dramatic series featuring the primal robotic warfare.
Their mission: to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve.
Super Friends, 1998. It was fun to experience this 1973 Hanna-Barbera classic on Toonami after all these years. Super Friends puts together some of the greatest DC superheroes as they fight the forces of evil as a powerful alliance. You'll get to see the likes of Superman, Batman, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman fighting together. The Justice League members are also helped by Wonder Twins, Zan and Jaina, and there are some exciting guest appearances from Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, and the Atom. The kids who grew up during the 70s have a special place in their hearts for Super Friends because it was one of the first cartoons to depict the Justice League of America. Yeah, there were a few drawbacks with the show, but they couldn't be helped. For instance, the violence had to be toned down considerably because the networks back then didn't allow a lot of that. Even then, there were some memorable conflicts, and the creative storytelling never got tiring. The stories also brought up environmental issues, moral dilemmas, and some thought-provoking concepts that could appeal to the adults as well. In short, the show was one of the best that the 70s had to offer, and it was no less fun revisiting it on Toonami during the 90s. Powerpuff Girls, 1999. This cartoon series single-handedly brought in a massive female following for animated shows, and the narrative featured the three protagonists, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, all of whom had superpowers. They were created by Professor Utonium, who tried to create three perfect little girls, but ended up giving them superpowers due to an accidental dose of Chemical X. Now, the three superheroes have the responsibility of protecting the city of Townsville against all sorts of crimes and threats. This superhero series was fun and action-packed, a combination that works more often than not. Each one of the girls had their own personalities, and the show also brought in some intimidating villains to make things interesting. The likes of Mojo Jojo, the Gangrene Gang, and the character called Him made up the diverse villains of the show. And the narrative never failed to entertain the viewers. The animation work was pleasantly colourful, and the character designs were done keeping the young audience in mind. The impressive voice acting cast included the likes of Tom Kane, Kathy Cavadini, and Tara Strong, and they brought the characters to life. The Powerpuff Girls was the perfect family show with some important messages for the kids, and they simply don't make such wholesome shows anymore.
No one knows for sure, but I intend to find out.
ReBoot, 1999. ReBoot takes a peek into the outrageous possibility of life within a computer, and this animated series was the first totally computer-generated series. The story is based on your conventional good versus evil theme, but the entire battleground is inside a computer. Bob, the Guardian, protects the city of Mainframe from various viruses and games, and he has some support from Dot Matrix and her brother, Enzo. This is a smart and action-packed series that's remembered for the hilarious inside jokes and references from pop culture. Back when it was released in the early 90s, the show was eons ahead of its time, and the plot and episodes kept getting more dramatic with time. The idea of an entire system living inside computers was quite unique, and we loved the goofy sound effects and mild violence across the episodes. You'll also enjoy the likable characters, and the battles between the Guardians and the viruses are always engaging. The jokes and puns throughout the narrative keep things engaging for the viewers, but there's also a dark side to the series, which is quite evident from the third season of the show. Ronin Warriors, 1999. Ronin Warriors is one of the most underrated anime classics, and the story provides a thrilling journey for the audience. The evil ruler of the Netherworld, Talpa, is back after being in exile for 1,000 years, and he means business as he attempts to take over the Earth. However, he has one thing standing in his way: 5 young men who have the mystical armor suits to help them fight against this powerful enemy. Can they protect the Earth before it's too late? The storyline is deceptively impressive, and although the anime was created back in 1988, the animation quality is ahead of its time. There are some rough visuals at times, but you wouldn't notice as you'll be mesmerized by the narrative. The episodes are packed with action, but it doesn't get too bloody or gory. This anime also offers a solid reflection of Japanese culture, such as the armor of the samurai represents the 5 typical elements in Japanese tradition: air, water, fire, light, and earth. Ronin Warriors proves the fact that even a simple premise can create an unforgettable series, and the fans of this series rate this as highly as shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For many, it was their first exposure to anime, and it surely left a lasting impression on them. G-Force, Guardians of Space, 2000. This was the second American animated series adaptation of the Japanese anime titled Science Ninja Team Gatchaman, and the story revolved around 5 young teenagers who fought the evil forces to defend the Earth from various enemies. The leader among the 5 heroes was Ace Goodheart, and Dirk Daring was the second in command, and these bird-themed superheroes used all their skills and courage to fight the alien threats like Galactor. The Americanized version of the popular anime series retained some of the key elements of the original. The dubbing wasn't the best, and the annoying disco soundtrack didn't add much to the episodes, but apart from that, the show was quite enjoyable. The interesting storyline saved the day for the series, and the action sequences were fun to watch. However, even with so much going for it, G-Force failed to become successful. During its initial run, the show was removed after airing only 13 out of the 85 episodes, and it was a pleasant surprise when Toonami brought it back. This'll not be a show to die for, but it's still worth a one-time watch. Batman, the animated series, 2000. This is the OG when it comes to superhero animation during the 90s. Nobody was complaining when Toonami introduced a rerun. Batman, the animated series, brought us the exciting adventures of Batman as the masked vigilante protected Gotham City against a variety of threats. The show offered an extensive rogues gallery for the superhero to take on, and there was never a dull moment in the narrative. One of the things that made this animated series so iconic was the dark tone that perfectly captured the comic book vibe. The voice actors were legendary, with Kevin Conroy as the Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker. The episodes weren't scared to explore the dark side of Batman and other crucial characters, and the crisp writing ensured a few laughs as well. The complex themes of the show were well captured by the orchestral music, and there haven't been too many better adaptations of The Dark Knight till date. If you haven't watched this remarkable animated series already, well, you're missing out on a slice of legacy that'll be celebrated for decades to come. Superman, the animated series, 2000. The 90s were truly the era of superhero cartoons, and Superman wasn't too far behind in this race. This 3-season spectacle captured the adventures of the lost son of planet Krypton, Superman, who protected the Earth from all sorts of evil. He also maintained the secrecy of his identity by posing as his alter ego Clark Kent, and the eventful series explored everything from Superman's love life to his iconic enemies. There have been numerous Superman cartoon adaptations, but this one is easily among the best. The showrunners made sure that they followed the same recipe as Batman the Animated Series, and the narrative was such that it would appeal to both children and adults. Aside from the engaging plot lines, the narrative also offered a generous dose of humor and plenty of action. The animation quality was simply superb, and so were the voice actors drafted in for the show. Tim Daly in particular did a mighty fine job as Superman, and if you want to experience an action-adventure cartoon at its finest, well, you can't give this show a miss.
With high expectations, human beings leave Earth.
Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, 2000. The story is premised in a futuristic world where humans have expanded into several space colonies. However, some dirty politics by the corrupt Treze and his organization Oz have ensured that the United Earth Sphere Alliance is almost an oppressive regime, governing with an iron fist. As a result, several rebel colonies have broken free, and they start off Operation Meteor in an effort to smuggle Gundam suits that are made of the powerful Gundanium alloy. These flying fighting suits can then be piloted and used in battle, and a few brave young pilots are up against the might of a tyrannical empire. Can they change the destiny of humanity? This will rank among the best anime shows that you'll ever come across, but despite being a mecha anime in terms of the theme, the charm of the series doesn't lie in the battles and the action. The real gem of the narrative is the intriguing character development, and watching the personalities grow is quite an experience. The dialogues are well written, and the action-packed episodes are always full of suspense. You'll have no complaints with the visuals as well, and even though some might say that this is not exactly the original Gundam vibe, well, remember that it is still one of the coolest shows that you'll see. Tenchi Universe, 2000. This Japanese anime series is based on the first 6 episodes of the Tenchi Muyo Oki OVA series, and was fun to revisit the charming show during Toonami's rerun. It tells the story of a legendary warrior named Yosho, who's also the crown prince of Jurayan Empire. However, he doesn't want the life of a ruler and disappears from his kingdom. One of his successors, Tenchi, is troubled by the arrival of space pirate Ryoko, who the young man has to face a few challenges regarding his emotions, and also the future of his people. The original anime series is too good to miss out, and while the original might suggest a light-hearted storyline, there's a surprising amount of depth in the narrative. The equation between the 2,000-year-old demon Ryoko and Tenchi is heartwarming to say the least, and the funny and touching episodes will never make things monotonous. Things get particularly exciting when the show puts its action gloves on, and even though there are a few minor flaws here and there, Tenchi Universe will prove to be a promising watch. Blue Submarine, number 6, 2000. Humanity is faced with some severe issues in the distant future when the rising temperatures have melted the ice caps and reduced the land masses to a great extent. Meanwhile, a scientist named Zorndike has developed a species of ocean-dwelling creatures and has waged a war against the humans. The only chance for humanity to survive rests on Blue Submarine 6. which is a state-of-the-art vessel that can fight against these creatures. Can the brave crew of the submarine become the heroes that the world needs? The concept behind the anime is quite intriguing, and you can't deny the hint of a realistic touch with the whole global warming threat looming large. The story builds up nicely, and you'll also get a satisfying ending instead of a cliffhanger. You'll appreciate the subtlety of the characters, and even the voice acting isn't disappointing. The naval combats are always exciting, and we love the jazz background when all the fighting takes place. The visual effects are appealing enough, and if you're an old-school anime fan, Blue Submarine No. 6 will definitely be a joyful experience for you. Tenchi in Tokyo, 2000. Tenchi Muyo is one of the most popular anime franchises in Japan, and this is the third installation of the series. Here, we see the protagonist Tenchi relocating to Tokyo, and here, he falls in love with one of his classmates named Sakuya. Their relationship is the talk of the class, and many others try to interfere. Meanwhile, Tenchi has to also deal with an ancient mutant named Yugi who wishes to take over the Earth and turn it into her kingdom. Can Tenchi balance his love life and responsibilities at the same time? This anime can be classified under the harem genre because it involves a protagonist who has many admirers, but the story has everything from action to romance. The visuals of this anime are fascinating, and you'll fall in love with the detailed sketches in every scene. The characters are not monotonous, and the range of human emotions in them makes this show appealing for adults as well. Overall, Tenchi in Tokyo can be a nice way to get introduced to the Tenchi Muyo franchise, and we can promise that, once you start off, there'll be no looking back. Batman Beyond, 2001. This version of Batman takes place in a futuristic world in the year 2039, and Bruce Wayne has retired as the Dark Knight. Now that Gotham City is without a symbol of hope, crime thrives in the society, and a high school kid named Terry McGinnis decides to take up their legacy. Guided by Bruce Wayne himself, the new Batman takes on the enemies and makes new alliances for the greater good of Gotham. As it turns out, the world simply can't do without the presence of Batman. After the stellar 90s animated series, Batman Beyond is perhaps the next best in line because of how beautifully the narrative is set up. The cyberpunk ambiance, futuristic technology, and mesmerizing animation make sure that you'll not be able to take your eyes off the screen. We get the maestro Kevin Conroy back as a voiceover artist, and the new villains are all fun to watch. This ambitious project handles the balance between a complex plot and intelligent dialogues, and it's a show that'll be entertaining for both kids and adults. Batman Beyond is a must-watch for every Batman fan out there, and the futuristic Dark Knight will totally make it worth your time. Dragon Ball, 2001. Son Goku is one of the iconic characters in anime history, and this version of Dragon Ball is among the earliest adaptations of the character in 1986. The story follows the journey of Goku, the adorable fighter with a monkey tail, who seeks out all the Dragon Balls, which are a set of crystals that provide the bearer with incredible powers. He encounters a variety of friends and foes as he goes about his mission of becoming the greatest fighter that ever lived. Previously, Toonami brought out Dragon Ball Z for the American audience, but the reintroduction of the original Dragon Ball was no less fun. The journey of young Goku in his adventures develop a solid story arc during which he also makes some amazing friends. There are some emotional moments in the series as well, when the viewer has to deal with the deaths of some lovable characters. Considering that this is the first and original Dragon Ball series from the mid-1980s, the animation work is commendable, and the show hardly puts a foot wrong. If you watch Dragon Ball Z after watching the original series, we can assure you that it'll be a lot more fun. Mobile Suit Gundam, 2001. You can't imagine the mecha anime genre without the brilliance of Mobile Suit Gundam, and Toonami ensured the return of almost all the major Gundam shows. In Mobile Suit Gundam, the Earth Federation is engaged in a conflict with a space colony named Zeon, who wants to become independent. A young boy from a space colony suddenly finds himself in the center of this conflict when the forces of Zeon attack his people. He has to step up and make use of a secret weapon called the Gundam, which is an advanced humanoid robot that can be piloted. Can he turn the tide of the battle? Mobile Suit Gundam is often regarded as one of the most influential action anime ever created, and rightly so. The story is quite mature, and you shouldn't be fooled by a simple and childish premise. We simply adore the inter-character relationships and interactions, which are often more entertaining than all the action that follows. The battle scenes are realistically done, and you get to understand the importance of teamwork through the narrative. A story of a fight between the underdogs and the oppressors never fails to entertain, and this series will be an amazing watch if you ignore the somewhat dated animation. In fact, if you take into account that this anime series was made in 1979, well, the visuals are impressive enough. This is the first realistic mecha anime, and you have to watch it for the historical significance alone. Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team, 2001. The Gundam saga continued for Toonami with yet another exciting series, where the story centers around a young lieutenant during the events of the One-Year War. While leading a team of Gundam mobile suits to fight Zeon's forces, a lieutenant named Shiro Armada finds out about a secret weapon possessed by Zeon. This can destroy the headquarters of the Earth Federation, but the seriousness of Shiro's mission gets more complicated when he befriends the pilot of this secret weapon. What happens when two enemies discover the futility of war and develop feelings for each other? This anime series is a great answer to those who claim that the Gundam series often ends up glorifying war. The anti-war message in the narrative is hard to miss, and even if you're not a Gundam fan, this series will touch you deeply. The animation style is great, and the warfare sequences stand out in terms of the visuals. The tactical element in the fight sequences has been handled expertly, and the realistic backdrop is what makes the narrative so relatable. The characters are convincing, and the memorable love story in the middle of war can't help but leave an impact with the viewers. Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket, 2001. Another addition to the Gundam series on Toonami, Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket is quite different from the usual narrative that you find in Gundam shows. Here, you get to witness a small personal story, which is interesting enough despite being a side story at best. We're given the perspective of an 11-year-old boy who observes the events of the One-Year War and the impact that it has on the people. The little boy's opinion on war might leave you shaken, because he's simply too young to understand the nuances of war and politics. This miniseries does something that many classics have attempted to do in fiction: analyze war through the eyes of an innocent little boy. There's not much action that you find in other Gundam shows, but the war drama never fails to amaze the viewer with its deep philosophies. The music is simply excellent, and we also love the detailing and colors in the animation. The mecha designs are impressive as well, and you know things are getting serious when you start to sympathize with the AI. Beware of the emotional climax that'll leave you in tears, and the final scene is one that deserved to win an Oscar for the thoughtful arrangement. Cardcaptors, 2001. This is the American version of the anime Cardcaptor Sakura, and it tells the story of Sakura Avalon and Lee Shaoran, who are a part of a fantasy world. Their goal is to find the escaped Clow cards and have them return to the mystical book that holds them. These are basically magic spirits that have been imprisoned as special cards and sealed off in a book called the Clow. After Sakura accidentally opens the book and releases the cards, she must find a way to set things back in order before the spirits ruin the world. Luckily for her, she's not alone in this mission, and her friends are there to help her out. The intriguing storyline might not be award-winning stuff, but it'll keep you engaged throughout the series. The original Japanese version, of course, is a superior show, because the American adaptation waters down a lot of things. The animation quality is rough around the edges, but passable overall. However, this series is once again a painful reminder of how things can go wrong during dubbing. If you can ignore the poor voiceover, Cardcaptors will be an anime that you'll remember for a very long time. We strongly recommend watching the original Japanese version, if you can. Outlaw Star, 2001. Gene Starwind is a tough guy who works with his partner Jim Hawking, and their lives change when a mysterious woman named Hilda offers them the adventure of a lifetime. Starwind and his crew have to seek out a hidden treasure trove in outer space called the Galactic Ley Line. Their journey is eventful, with the presence of various threats from space pirates to assassins to halt their mission. Can they brave all odds and find their way to the treasure? This anime series is truly awesome, with a fine blend of action, romance, humor, and drama. The Toonami version, however, censors out a lot of adult elements, such as the fact that the protagonist is a bit of a pervert and the characters swear quite a bit. An entire episode had to be removed by Cartoon Network for being too raunchy, and if you want the complete experience, well, you'll have to watch the original version. This will also spare you from the painful dubbing, which takes the life out of the narrative. Check out the original Outlaw Star, and you'll realize why it's regarded as one of the greatest anime shows ever made. The Big O, 2001. Paradigm City is a futuristic place, but it's a city of amnesia and lost memories. A disaster that struck 40 years ago has left the population with a forgotten past, and the city remains shrouded in a fog-like mystery. In this bizarre land, Roger Smith is an expert negotiator, and he fights various threats in the city along with his robot sidekick. Will he discover the hidden truth about the city and set things back to normal? What does the job of a negotiator involve? In this realistic anime set in a fantasy land, Roger Smith has to uncover various pieces of information that are related to his assignments. The show's not necessarily packed with action, but when the action does take place, well, it's a sight to behold. The animation quality remains the same throughout the series, and the dazzling battles look too good on screen. The first season of The Big O is truly remarkable, but the show does go downhill since then. Zoids, New Century, 2001. This shows another shining light in the world of mecha anime. The titular Zoids are animal-shaped combat mechs that are now used to conduct sporting competitions. Among them, a particular Zoid named Liger Zero refuses to let anyone into its cockpit except for a vagrant junk dealer named Bit Cloud. He can now be the one chance for the struggling Blitz team who take part in Zoid battling leagues. But the journey of the Blitz team is interrupted by various outlaws and criminals. This anime series is actually the second one featuring the Zoids, but fans would agree that it's better than the original in more ways than one. The story is reliant on the fight scenes that take place in every episode, and while the heroes always win, the events are not without its share of drama. You'll find yourself rooting for the relatable characters, and there are some comedic elements in the narrative that are quite enjoyable. It would have been better if the show didn't try to do too much in the last episode and eased things out, but overall, it's still a lot of fun to watch and a unique piece of content that you must check out. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 2002. It's never a wrong time to reintroduce He-Man, and Toonami played its cards well by telecasting this 80s classic in the new decade. The plot features the familiar superhero He-Man, who gains superhuman strength once he holds up the magical sword of power and utters the words, "By the power of Grayskull." His alter ego Prince Adam is his polar opposite, but He-Man takes on every form of threat to his kingdom, usually emerging from his adversary Skeletor. He-Man is also supported by some capable warriors like Teela and Man-at-Arms, and their numerous adventures make up the episodes. The show was obviously targeted towards the children, but the narrative never starts to become mindless. The simple storylines are well executed, and the voice actors deserve a special mention for some brilliant work in the series. The action scenes look fabulous, courtesy of the vibrant animation, and the show looks just as fresh today as it did back in the 80s. Toonami, bringing it out in 2002, helped the kids of that generation become familiarized with He-Man, and we all know how the franchise has managed to remain popular even today, with new shows coming out every other year. Hamtaro, 2002. Sometimes, the cartoon shows made specifically for children can also be a lot of fun for adults, and Hamtaro is a great example of that. This Japanese series tells the bizarre story of a group of pet hamsters who sneak out of their homes and gather around for meetings in a well-furnished underground burrow. They discuss about their problems and plan adventures, just like a regular group of friends, and their antics are never short on entertainment. The adorable hamsters look so cute that watching them in the series might be enough reason to watch Hamtaro. These cuddly creatures will remind you of Pikachu, but the hamsters are also quite different from each other in terms of their personalities. The lack of abstract and more complex elements in the narrative will hardly be missed, but you don't have to take every anime so seriously, do you? We just love the focus on cuteness and intuitive humor, and even the animation quality in the show is top-notch. If you want some mindless entertainment and want to feel good, well, Hamtaro is just the show you need to watch. G.I. Joe, 2002. This popular mid-80s cartoon series brings you the adventures of a fearless special forces team called G.I. Joe. Their missions take them all across the world, and they're equally effective in air, water, and land. The primary opponent of the G.I. Joe team is the evil organization Cobra, which seeks to dominate the world through its evil means. The Special Task Force is all that stands for American values as they take on a cunning enemy in various story arcs. The narrative is bold and electrifying. You can be sure that there are no dull moments across the 85 episodes in the series. Even though the show is essentially based on a toy line, the story offers a lot more than simple merchandise selling tactics. Besides all the action, you also get to see the relationships between the G.I. Joe team members and their implications. While the heroes are likable, their enemies are also eye-catching, especially the Cobra Commander. As long as a simple tale of a fight between good and evil backed up by quality animation is good enough for you, well, G.I. Joe should definitely be on your watch list. Samurai Jack, 2002. This is easily one of the most impressive cartoon shows of the decade, and the show deals with the nail-biting contest between a young samurai warrior named Jack and his arch-rival, a shape-shifting wizard named Aku. The first round is won by Aku after he sends Jack into a dystopian future where there's utter lawlessness and chaos under his rule. Jack must find a way to fight back against the evil wizard and also figure out a way back to his own timeline. Many of us didn't expect such brilliance from a show that starts off on such a simple premise. However, we were pleasantly surprised by the innovative storylines and top-notch writing. The narrative is funny and intelligent at the same time, while also handling all the action that unfolds in each episode. You'll be bowled over by the outstanding animation, which makes everything from the character features to the background stand out. The music is also perfectly suitable for the theme of the show, and anyone who dislikes this cinematic cartoon series doesn't have the slightest idea about animation.
Oh yeah? Here, Lena Special on the house!
Zoids, Chaotic Century, 2002. What Toonami did best back in the day was finding the right mix of Japanese anime and American cartoons to establish a solid platter. Zoids, Chaotic Century is another addition to the collection of anime reruns, and the show is originally the first among the Zoids animated adaptations. The Zoids are beast-like flying machines from a distant planet, and the episodes explore the adventures of these powerful machines and the challenges that they face. The more you watch this series, the more you'll fall in love with it. The captivating plot draws you in immediately, and it certainly helps the cause that so much is going on in the narrative. There are some well-fleshed-out characters, the dynamics between them, and also some thought-provoking villains who aren't exactly pure evil. Thanks to the fabulous animation and great detailing, the action scenes will send your heart racing, and we have nothing but words of praise for this priceless Japanese masterpiece. It's a nice beginning if you want to get hooked onto the Zoid series, and we can bet that you'll not be disappointed. Mobile Fighter G Gundam, 2002. The story is premised in a futuristic world where much of humanity has moved to various space colonies. In order to avoid conflicts between the various colonies, a tournament known as Gundam Fight has been established. It's a battle where each colony creates a Gundam and they all fight each other on Earth. The winner of the tournament gains control of all the colonies for a period of 4 years, and the narrative takes you on the journey of Domon Kashu and his shining Gundam sent out by Neo Japan. Can he win the fight for his country, especially with Domon having greater problems to deal with? This is certainly a unique entry in the Gundam franchise, and even the Gundam designs are nothing like you've seen before. The writers have done a great job in ensuring that the narrative never falls short of drama, and the whole story is nicely woven together across the episodes. We have no complaints regarding the animation quality because the action scenes look absolutely glorious. The English dubbing isn't as miserable as usual, and this mecha anime series is sure to provide you with a wholesome experience. Transformers Armada, 2002. Toonami is back with some more Transformers action as the Autobots and Decepticons face off yet again in this animated series. The battleground is the Earth as the two heavyweights go at it for the prize of little Transformers called the Minicons. These Minicons can be used to enhance the powers of both Decepticons and Autobots, and the powers can be used both for good and bad. Who will emerge as the victorious one in this great battle? Transformers Armada gets a lot of unfair criticism, and you must trust us when we say that the show is not as half bad as some people make it out to be. The basic premise of the show is quite interesting, and the storyline never allows a slip-up in the intensity. The climactic episode, where they're in space, is truly epic, and although the voice acting sounds a bit cheesy, it's hardly something that anyone would notice amidst this eventful affair. The show gets off to a slow start, but the pace picks up pretty quickly, and even the writing improves leaps and bounds. Miss out on this hidden gem at your own peril. Justice League, 2003. D.C.E. animated shows had set the standards high with the Batman and Superman animated series in the 90s. Justice League came in the next decade, but it didn't disappoint the fans. The show takes 7 of the most formidable DC superheroes and puts them together as a team. They become a force to reckon with as the Justice League, but even the threats and supervillains that they come across are of equally epic proportions. Justice League is sometimes regarded as one of the best works from DC animation, and you'll rarely find a better portrayal of the Silver and Bronze Age period of comic books. You can tell that all of the writers involved in the Justice League are avid comic book readers, and they successfully capture the authentic theme of the comics in the episodes. The voices for each one of the superheroes are perfectly done, and Kevin Conroy steals the show yet again as Batman. We have no words to describe the wonderful animation, and Justice League brings out the true soul of the DC superheroes in the best way possible. Star Wars Clone Wars, 2003. The Star Wars universe is so extensive that it's quite challenging to put together an animated series based on one particular storyline. Clone Wars, however, does that effectively, as it brings you the story of the events that take place after Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker continue their fight against Count Dooku and the Separatists. Yoda and Mace Windu, the Jedi Masters, are also a part of the battle that follows, and it remains to be seen if the Republic will come out as the winner with the Separatists defeated. Star Wars Clone Wars has to be the best among the prequel era of Star Wars storylines, and it is in many ways superior to some of the live-action movies. The simple and sharp animation is pleasant to watch, and the narrative never gets unnecessarily overcomplicated. The characters are sketched out in great detail, and the action scenes simply keep coming. Meanwhile, you also have to appreciate the soulful music that fits the series nicely, and the epic lightsaber fights and space battles make this show a must-watch for every Star Wars fan out there. YuYu Hakusho, 2003. This series from 1992 was a welcome reintroduction on the Toonami block, and the show features a 14-year-old teenage boy named Yusuke Urameshi who comes back from the dead. He lost his life while trying to save a kid from an approaching car, and he's resurrected and sent back from the spirit world as the underworld detective. His job now is to look out for demons and other apparitions in the human world, and his life of paranormal adventures begins. The story is original and innovative, and the show really knows how to grab your attention. The voice actors are phenomenal, and the clever dialogue acts as the icing on the cake. The character of the protagonist is truly hilarious, and even the spirit world is left confused seeing him sacrifice his life for someone else. The arrogance and selfishness in him remains, and the character development is one of the strongest assets of this series. The demons are all fun to watch, and the animation keeps getting better as the series progresses. Funimation, the company that worked on the dubbing of Dragon Ball, has worked wonders in this series as well. You can always check it out for some good old-fashioned fun. Cyborg 009, The Cyborg Soldier, 2003. Joe Shimamura is an 18-year-old young man who wakes up randomly in a laboratory and discovers that he has some unique superpowers. He goes on to discover that he's among the 9 cyborg weapons created by a terrorist organization called Black Ghost, which makes a fortune by selling illegal weapons across the world. But what happens to this sinister organization when their own creations turn against them? This underrated anime series is simply incredible, and the plot always stays true to the manga source material. The concept was definitely ahead of its time, and you'll find the show to be an engaging entertainer even today. The action's non-stop, and you'll also enjoy some talented anime art. There are also some touching moments, and almost every other episode will move you to tears. The characters sound exactly how they should, and the only problem with the series is that it deserved a much longer run than it had. Rurouni Kenshin, 2003. This late 90s anime classic brings you the adventures of a young swordsman who wanders around aimlessly until he comes across a struggling martial arts school. Previously, he'd slain many of his opponents, and now he seeks peace in order to repent for his sins. The story, premised in Meiji-era Japan, shows how the young swordsman suddenly finds purpose once again and trains to be a better warrior, which soon becomes a necessity as the martial arts school faces a few threats along the way. Rurouni Kenshin is what you'd call a complete anime. It has loads of action, a protagonist who struggles with his life and purpose, a few emotional moments, and a generous helping of comedy to lighten the mood. The character of the protagonist has been sketched out perfectly, and you'll also find the sadistic enemies to be a perfect fit in the story. Almost every episode gives the characters a detailed background, and the sword-fighting action scenes are drop-dead gorgeous. The live-action adaptation doesn't come close to this anime version, and you must check out this all-time classic in order to experience some pure anime goodness. Dragon Ball GT, 2003. The journey of Goku continues in yet another Dragon Ball adventure, and now it's been 10 years since he left his loved ones to master his skills. However, all his progress turns out to be futile when he's turned into a kid again by the Black Star Dragon Balls. Goku must go on yet another journey to find a way to get back to his old self. There are many who bash Dragon Ball GT for being a commercial production, but the show isn't all that bad. It's true that the series tries to be both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but even the middle ground is better than average. The narrative lacks adequate development, and the fight scenes could have been a lot better. The biggest problem is that you'll always compare it with its predecessors. If you judge it individually, we have to say that Dragon Ball GT is worth a one-time watch, especially for the hardcore fans of the franchise. Superior Defender Gundam Force, 2003. Not every Gundam series has to be amazing, and SD Gundam Force was far from living up to the standards set by the franchise. Premised in the futuristic city of Neotopia, where humans and robots coexist, this Gundam series deals with deformed robots, and the less we tell you about the plot, well, the better it is. You can consider watching the series if you agree to the preconceived notion that you'll not be taking things seriously. Some people say that the show is made strictly for kids, but even the children refuse to watch this pathetic mess. The characters can be really annoying and get on your nerves, and the comic relief attempted in the narrative is hardly any relief at all. The show lacks any dark side, and while the animation is beautifully fluid, the story lacks the depth to keep you interested. It's not surprising that SD Gundam Force had one of the lowest viewership in Japan, and maybe Toonami could have done without bringing this one back. Duel Masters, 2004. This is a rip-off of an anime titled Yu-Gi-Oh!, and the makers seem to have taken the parody route in order to conceal the obvious similarities. The story is about a young 10-year-old boy who wishes to follow his father's footsteps and become one of the best duelists in the world. Don't mistake the premise for anything touching or emotional, because the only thing enjoyable about this anime is when it ends, and the bad jokes are hardly gonna make you laugh. For a show that's centered on a card game, the game and its rules are never clearly specified. The monsters from Duel Masters hardly look as amazing as the ones in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and the limited CGI doesn't make the visuals promising. This is one Toonami rerun that you can gladly skip, and you may thank us for taking the trouble of going through this series so that you don't have to.
全く無茶しやがって。急激なパワーサージでジオラムがおかしくなった。
Astro Boy, 2004. Astro Boy is actually a young robot boy, created by research scientist Dr. Tenma after his son passed away. Initially, it was planned to keep his existence a secret, but the atomic-powered robot is soon led to circumstances that force him to become a superhero and protector of the people. He ensures justice for both humans and robots, and after his creator Dr. Tenma shuts him down because Astro Boy fails to fill the void of his son, he's soon again discovered by Dr. O'Shea. His new mentor also makes sure that Astro has the life that he deserves, and the show captures his eventful journey from a young boy robot to a superhero. The original Astro Boy series is a classic, and this version also lives up to the expectations of the fans. The graphics and sound in the series are truly pioneering and inspired many others to follow suit. You'll admire the detailed backgrounds, which are at par with the likes of Pokemon. The protagonist is a great character, and we also appreciate the diversity of villains in the show. Modernization is not always negative, and this wonderful 21st century remake of a classic is a great example of that. Teen Titans, 2004. The young superhero team is ironically led by Robin, Batman's former sidekick, who has no superpowers aside from his utility belt. His fellow team members, however, have unique powers of their own, and together with Cyborg, Raven, Beast Boy, and Starfire, they form the perfect crime-fighting unit. They're based out of Jump City in the West Coast, and they all reside in the Titans Tower until they get a call seeking their help in fighting crime. The narrative captures two important things in the show. Firstly, the journey of the young superheroes as they take on the villains has been explored. Secondly, we also get to see the young boys and girls growing up with the issues that torment most teenagers. The bonds between the teammates keep growing stronger, and there are many episodes that explore their origins. The animation in the show leaves nothing to complain about, and the narrative has some hilarious moments that'll keep you craving for more. Jackie Chan Adventures, 2004. Jackie Chan in this beloved animated series is an archaeologist who comes across a shield that contains a talisman. He soon discovers that there's a dozen other similar magical talismans, and he must stop them from getting into the wrong hands. The story explores his journey as Jackie Chan and his 11-year-old niece Jade travel all over the world to get the magical talismans and prevent the evil Dark Hand from getting to them first. Their journey is not going to be easy because a variety of dangers await them at every step. This show is a dream come true for every Jackie Chan fan, and the humor is truly next level in the show. Cartoons based on celebrities have been known to fail miserably, but this one's clearly different from the rest. The action is enjoyable and fast, and it never looks outrageous or ridiculous. There are plenty of fun villains who humiliate Jackie Chan initially, but the brave and determined fellow always comes out on top. Don't go in expecting a thoughtful classic, and you'll not be disappointed by the fun-filled series. Transformers Energon, 2004. The Transformers saga continues with its unending entertainment, as the conflict between the Autobots and the Decepticons is still ongoing in this series. However, the Robotic Warriors are in for a different challenge this time, as the Autobots must prevent the resurrection of Unicron, which could spell doom for them. The events of this series take place 10 years after Transformers Armada, and we're pleasantly surprised by the well-written opening episodes. However, even after setting up everything perfectly, the show drops the ball and conveniently forgets about all the multiple story arcs. Although the animation is an improvement from Transformers Armada, the episodes going ahead will fail to inspire you to continue watching. You might as well give this show a miss unless you're a die-hard Transformers fan. Megas XLR, 2004. The show starts off in promising fashion as we're greeted by humanity in distress in the distant future. An alien invasion has brought the humans to their knees, but a brave soldier named Kiva manages to capture one of the alien mecha and reprograms it. She plans to send it back in time so that the alien invasion can be stopped before it's too late. However, the plan misfires and the mecha ends up in modern-day New Jersey. Two young teenagers come across the mecha, and they even remodel the mecha. Can Kiva track down her invention and set everything back in order? The story about the super robot from the future might seem a bit too serious, but the narrative parodies everything from the 80s to the time when it was made. On the other hand, the episodes also promise a generous dose of action and comedy, and it's an absolute entertainer on every level. It's a pity that this promising anime parody with a touch of American humor was cancelled way too soon, and make sure you check out this dollop of frivolous fun before it's lost in time. Justice League Unlimited, 2004. The original Justice League animated series became a fan favorite in quick time. Justice League Unlimited marks the continuation of the success story. The familiar DC superheroes team up yet again, and this time they have a few new faces from the DC Universe for company. Together, they take on crime and evil by its horns, and there isn't a force more powerful than the strongest people working together. This is god-tier superhero animation, and it simply doesn't get better than this. The thoughtful and intelligent writing makes the episodes mouth-watering stuff, and the 3 seasons seasons of this super hit classic is a true love letter to all the comic book fans out there. The animation is sublime, and we're fans of the darker and more complex tone that the show takes up. For once, you get to see the human side of the superheroes, and the only complaint that you might have is that you don't get to see the original Justice League together in every episode. Regardless, it's a show that stands out in every parameter, and we can't think of a better superhero series to suggest. Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, 2004. In this edition of Gundam, a unique conflict has emerged between the naturally born humans and those who have been engineered. Meanwhile, Kira Yamato is one of the genetically enhanced superhumans, and when Kira goes on to become the pilot of a powerful mobile suit, the tide of the battle has a possibility of being altered. What'll be the final outcome of this raging battle across the Earth and all the space colonies? If you're someone who's seen very little Gundam before this, the show might be quite amusing because you don't have much to compare it with. The Gundam veterans, however, will beg to differ, and for them, this series will be average at best. The basic plot is interesting, and the animation offers everything that you'd expect from this era, but the real depth of the characters and the complications in the storyline are missing, and this brings it down to normal levels of amazing. That being said, there are enough positives about the show to make it worth a one-time watch, and mecha anime fans will not be disappointed with the efforts behind Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. Rave Master, 2004. Haru Glory is a young boy with a normal life as he lives in Garage Island with his sister. However, things change drastically for him after he finds a travel companion named Blue. Previously, his father had left home to find the magical Rave, and he follows suit. His journey introduces him to the mysterious girl Elle, who's lost her memory, and together they have to eliminate Demon Card. Where will their journey take them, and what secrets about their past life will be uncovered? Hiro Mishima is a master of his craft, and this series is a great example of how his Midas touch can transform an average show into a great one. All the characters and the villains are well written, and the animation quality delivered by the studio is also fascinating. If you've seen the original Japanese episodes, the dubbed version might feel watered down, but it's still a terrific show without any major flaw. The only downside is that the show ends on a cliffhanger, which is a pity because it certainly deserved a longer run. The Batman, 2005. Bruce Wayne takes up his role as the Caped Crusader yet again, as the billionaire by the day also fights crime in Gotham City when it's required. Batman in this animated series is sometimes joined in by the likes of Robin and Batgirl, but he's usually a lone wolf, playing the major role in most of his missions. Meanwhile, his villains have also formed a long list, and the show brings out a number of prominent ones, such as the Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Black Mask, and Killer Moth. If you compare it with the 90s animated series, the Batman looks pale and is no match for its predecessor. However, without the comparison and biases of the viewer, the show is not too disappointing. You'll enjoy some decent storylines, and the animation quality is great. The narrative explores a lot about the life of Bruce Wayne as a civilian, and this hasn't been done very often before. The new Bat weapon, called the Batbot, is pretty cool, and so are the villains, especially the likes of Bane and Joker. Overall, the Batman may not be as good as the original series, but it's still going to be entertaining for those looking for some harmless fun. One Piece, 2005. One Piece has always been one of the best-selling manga, and the anime adaptation fared no differently toward the end of the 90s. The show depicts the exploits of Monkey D. Luffy, whose ambition is to become the king of all pirates. He embarks on a quest across the unknown seas in search of a mythical treasure, One Piece. Luffy is not alone in his mission, and he has a diverse crew, ranging from the swordsman named Roronoa to a thief named Nami. His ship is also carrying the warrior cook Sanji, and a sentient deer named Chopper, along with Robin and Usopp, who is a great liar and inventor. You can already tell from the range of characters involved that the show is going to be a laugh riot. Even with all the action and drama that unfolds and all the dangers that the crew encounters, the narrative never ceases to be funny. The animation is breathtakingly beautiful, and the show thrives because it largely remains faithful to the source material. It would have been even better if a majority of the violence and adult elements weren't edited out, but One Piece is still the best pirate anime there is. Naruto, 2005. This iconic Japanese anime series was reintroduced by Toonami, and the anime fans weren't complaining. When the nine-tailed demon fox attacked a ninja village, many people were killed, but the leader sacrificed himself to seal the demon inside a newborn baby named Naruto. He wasn't aware of the demon inside him, but when he got to know about his true potential, his real journey began. He's then made a part of a team that has to complete various missions according to the request of the villagers. The show was definitely ahead of its time when it first came out. Everything about the show, from the unique concept to the brilliant animation, was something people hadn't seen yet, and even during the Toonami rerun in 2005, the audience was equally amazed by the brilliance of the show. Naruto is probably one of the most common anime titles, and even the anime noobs are aware of this classic. If you haven't read or watched Naruto till date, make it a priority to check out all of them. D.I.C.E. 2005. D.I.C.E. stands for DNA Integrated Cybernetic Enterprises, and it's an organization in the Sarbyllian galaxy that helps those in need. Although the D.I.C.E. members are not taken seriously by the suspicious locals because of their young age, they use the guild suit to power up and earn some respect for their work. They're always called upon when a serious problem arises, and the team is efficient enough to get the job done with the high-tech gadgets and efficiency. This underrated TV series never received much attention from the viewers, but the blame is to be shouldered by poor marketing tactics and not the content. The series shines with some brilliant storylines, and the idea is so innovative, and it's unfortunate how the makers couldn't do more with it. For a low-budget effort, the animation isn't too bad, and unless you watch the horrible English dubbing, even the voice acting has been done right. Give this one a try and you'll not be disappointed by this hidden gem. Zatch Bell, 2005. The Momota Games are held once in every 1,000 years in order to choose the king. Kiyo Takamine is ambitious about taking part in the competition, and after meeting a demon from another world named Zatch Bell, he has more than a fighting chance. We were quite skeptical when we watched the series on Cartoon Network for the first time. However, it didn't turn out to be another butchered-up anime, and retained much of its originality. The well-developed characters added a lot of substance to the storyline, and while the show may not be at par with the anime greats, it's still a memorable series with a decent plot. We would have loved it if the makers made us a proper closure, but the Toonami version that we've seen doesn't give an alternate ending, reportedly because the manga artist broke his wrist at a crucial juncture. Transformers Cybertron, 2005. Cybertron, the homeland of the Autobots, faces a great risk of being sucked into a black hole. The Autobots race against time to find some ancient mystical artifacts, which can be their only chance to save their world. However, the Decepticons are involved as well, and they too are seeking out the same artifacts, thus ensuring an epic clash between the two warring factions once again. Bobobo-bo Bo-bobo-bo, 2005. Yeah, the title can be a tongue twister, but it's the name of the protagonist of this animated series. He happens to be a warrior, and he has a peculiar method of fighting, where he uses his nose hair to fight against an evil empire. The goal of this evil empire is to turn the human race bald, and Bobobo-bo Bo-bobo-bo is the only one who can stop them. As you can understand from the premise, the show doesn't want to be taken seriously in the first place. It's said that the original plan was to create something based on the Fist of the North Star, but clearly that never happened. However, while this may be the weirdest show that you'll come across, the fun factor never lets you down. The battles are fun to watch and the random jokes will leave you in splits. Even the voices are hilariously done, and if you want a good laugh, well, we suggest that you check out this show with the peculiar name. Pokemon Chronicles, 2006. Pokemon is easily among the most popular animated shows across the world, and this spin-off series takes the familiar characters and Pokemons to create a mini-series. Firstly, one of the biggest twists in Pokemon Chronicles is that there is no Ash. While he's away, his Pokemons and friends like Misty, along with other characters like the bumbling Cassidy and Butch, aspiring Pokemon trainer Richie, and even Team Rocket get involved in a few adventures of their own. This is quite an underrated spin-off, largely because the show wasn't promoted enough. It's gonna be a fun watch for the kids, and inspirational characters like Richie add to the value of the narrative. The makers have used the same Pokemon formula with a slight difference, and we can't say that it didn't work. Many have complained about the quality of English dubbing, but that's been the case even in the original Pokemon series. Overall, it's a show worth watching, especially if you enjoy the adventures featuring the Pokemon and other quirky characters. Pokemon Battle Frontier, 2006. This was the 9th season of Pokemon and the final season of Pokemon, the series, Ruby and Sapphire. This was another piece of Pokemon popularity shared with the Toonami network for the US audience, and it worked quite well. The season takes you across the adventures of Ash Ketchum and his beloved Pikachu as they go along collecting frontier symbols. The journey is joined by various friends and enemies, and the episodes were never short of an abundance of fun and thrills. The visuals of the series were impressive, and it enjoyed a successful run on Toonami before it was taken off. Wulin Warriors, 2006. Wulin Warriors is not exactly Toonami's proudest moment, but the show did have some potential if it was given a longer run. This was a Taiwan-made puppet TV series, and it tells the story of a few selected prodigies who were put in training in a special academy, where they learn the way of the sword. When evil threatens their universe, the warriors will need something aside from their skills to set things back in order. They set out in search of the 7 stars, which can be their only chance against a superior force. One of the main problems with the show was the horrible dubbing, and the idea of a puppet show on a channel meant for cartoons didn't impress some of the viewers. The co-creator of the Toonami block, Jason DeMarco, had the show removed after a couple of episodes due to poor ratings, and that, well, was the end of it. The original version is actually an Asian classic, and it's a shame how much poor dubbing takes away from a quality program. Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes, 2006. Every fan of the superhero genre is aware of the basic premise of this Marvel superhero family. The Fantastic Four comprise of the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, the Thing, and Mr. Fantastic, all of whom gained their superpowers after being exposed to radiation in space. The series follows the original comic storylines, and the Fantastic Four can be seen taking on some of the popular villains like Doctor Doom and many others. This is a cool attempt in creating a Fantastic Four show, and the narrative has everything from high-grade comedy to adventure and action. The storylines and subplots are well written, and the visuals, mostly based on real drawings, are bound to leave you impressed. It might be less like the usual Fantastic Four shows that you get to see, but this is definitely a series worth checking out. The Prince of Tennis, 2006. Based on a popular manga series, this anime explores the story of a tennis prodigy named Ryoma Echizen, who comes back from the US and takes on the Japanese tennis scene at the request of his father. He seeks to become the best in the country, but the journey is long and challenging, and Ryoma has to make the most of his talents to make sure that his team makes it to the top of the tournament and breaks out into the national circuit. Can their underdog team brave the odds and fulfill the ambitions of this young tennis player? This anime series is almost addictive in nature, even if you're not a fan of sports anime in general. The likable characters, the quality animation, and a talented voice cast make the simple storylines come alive, and there are some peppy songs as well to add to the entertainment. The excitement of the matches is unparalleled, and one should watch this series for the remarkable character development alone. Stormhawks, 2007. Stormhawks features a cool concept that's an instant hit with the younger viewers. It tells the story of 6 teenagers who use powerful motorcycles that can transform into flying vehicles in order to fight the evil forces and defend their world. They're too young to be taken seriously, but their fighting skills belittle their age. They're up against the corrupt Cyclonia Empire and its superior forces, but they're the only ones who stand between the Cyclonia Empire and absolute dominance. Back in the day, this was a great show for the kids, and the simple story had all the elements to keep things interesting. We loved the animation quality, and the visuals will remind you of Dragon Booster at times. It's a pity that such a promising show ended a bit too soon, because Stormhawks had the potential to become a lot more popular. Mega Man Star Force, 2007. This anime is based on a popular video game, and the story is about a 5th grader named Subaru Hoshikawa who gets an unusual invention after the death of his father. The invention is a device that enables him to see radio wave-based aliens that can't be seen with the naked eye. These aliens are trying to destroy the world, and Subaru must fight them using his father's invention and a little help from an alien named Omega Axis. This was a moderately popular anime, and when it aired on the Toonami network, there was some interest among the fans. However, the dubbing wasn't the best, and the showrunners soon lost interest and shifted the focus to better-suited cartoon shows for the network. If you like the anime, do try to give the original video game a try, and you'll not be disappointed. Blue Dragon, 2008. In this fantasy tale, a group of shadow wielders, including the protagonist Shu, seeks help at Gibral Castle. They're welcomed by the king, and they even get to witness the important book of the beginning. However, a sudden attack by a rogue Grand Kingdom leaves 7 pages of this book missing, and the group of shadow wielders decides to do whatever it takes to restore the pages, and they head for the Grand Kingdom. This anime series was based on a popular Xbox RPG, and the show gained popularity on Cartoon Network. The narrative stays true to the storyline of the game, and you'll be impressed by the artwork evident from the visuals. The humor in the dialogue is also enjoyable, and overall, it's certainly a series worth checking out. Ben 10, Alien Force, 2008. This show was a raging hit back in the day, and the story revolved around a 15-year-old boy named Ben Tennyson. He has to make use of his Omnitrix, which can help him in locating his missing grandfather Max. Ben is not alone in his quest, but he'll experience challenges and vicious enemies, which will make his task all the more difficult. Ben 10 is a solid action-packed thriller that needs no introduction, and in many ways this is an improvement on the original. The stories and characters were well thought out, and the music was funkier and more memorable than before. What we really appreciate about the show is the solid writing, and you'll encounter some interesting villains along the way who make it worth your time. Bakugan Battle Brawlers, 2008. This anime adventure starts off on a bizarre premise where a bunch of special playing cards drop from the skies across the world. A group of friends pick them up, and they become the superpowered Bakugan Battle Brawlers. Their job is to assist the crucial fight between good and evil in a parallel universe, and they learn more about the complexities of power struggle in this world as they go deeper into their mission. This Japanese-Canadian anime series found a steady audience on the Toonami network, and it made sure that the target audience was entertained. There were some remarkable fight scenes, and the show offers some of the best characters ever. Each one of the Bakugan brawlers was unique in their own way, and we appreciated the well-woven subplots that held the narrative together. But all in all, it was still better than many of its contemporaries. Don't forget to tell us in the comments below about your favorite cartoons from the lot, and also let us know if you enjoy the programs that ran on Adult Swim from 2012 so that we can bring you a video on that as well.